are about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
Right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So, another thing that is starting to veer its ugly head, which we spoke a little bit about, is other people's reaction to what happened this weekend with the assassination attempt on Trump. But for those of you in the healthcare profession, okay, where you have dedicated your lives to saving people's lives, you might want to rethink posting comments on how upset you are that the shooter missed. I am blown away by individuals. There's very few, because most doctors and nurses and medical providers, you can't get through the schooling and get through the training being, having murderous thoughts and supporting murder. You won't get far in the field. Well, apparently a nurse just got suspended because of her comments. Daily Mail is reporting that a nurse at a New York City hospital, Janice Binns, works at New York Presbyterian, a medical center used by Columbia and Cornell universities, made an online post after the attack that said, quote, like, bro, work on your skills. And there was also a post on her Instagram story that called Trump's would-be assassin the most hated C word on the planet for missing. Now, a spokesperson for New York Presbyterian told Daily Mail that Binns had been suspended while the hospital launches an investigation. Her comments obviously sparked a backlash because it violated healthcare workers' oath to do no harm. Now, not everybody in the healthcare field actually takes an oath. But it is implied that if you are going to be dealing with people in their most vulnerable state, and if you are taking care of individuals and putting their safety above yours, where they have an infectious disease and you are going near them, and these nurses, God bless them. I mean, these nurses are, talk about frontline doctors. These nurses are front line. I mean, they are right there with infectious disease, with assault. These people they're the closest to the patients. And so you assume that somebody that has that access, and how vulnerable a patient could be, that nurse is not going to judge. That medical provider is not going to judge. You could be black, you could be white, you could be Jewish, you could be Catholic, you could be Muslim. You could be, like I had a patient who had a big swastika on his chest. I'm going to take care of him. How do I know somebody didn't hold him down and make him get the tattoo? How do I know he didn't have a brief lapse of judgment? I'm still going to take care of the patient. That's what you do. You take care of people, despite what they stand for, despite their immigration status, despite their age. You take care of them. And so when you see a healthcare provider bring up, how disappointed that a murder didn't happen, now it starts to make patients a little nervous about, one, they feel like they need to hide their political leanings from medical workers, or they need to, this is a problem. Remember, there was that medical student that was bragging that she poked somebody twice who questioned her, asked her, or made a comment about her name tag. Like, what do you mean she and her? I don't think he knew what he was talking about. I don't think he understood pronouns. but she was bragging because she thought it would look good on this thread because she wanted to kind of gain some followers. Like, oh, yeah, he got stuck twice. She almost got kicked out of medical school. Okay, that's not what healthcare providers do. Remember, she was a Toro graduate from New York who was in residency saying she's so glad because now she could write, I forget I think it was, she wanted to write prescriptions to Jews that could kill them. I don't remember her exact post. And she got fired. And so it shocks people when they see medical professionals have these biases. And what shocks me is what made her think that was a smart idea. I mean, where's your judgment? It means people think they're preaching to the choir. When somebody makes a post like that you see, I understand that there are people of all opinions, and that's what we want in America. But when people make these posts, they think they're always shocked that, somebody disagreed? You really think there's people out there that didn't want, you're shocked by the fact that there's people out there that didn't want Trump murdered? And so to post that, she posted that because she probably thought people would be like, woo, yay, I love what you said. You're going to be now popular. Pretty idiotic. Didn't a staffer, I think there was a staffer, a Democratic staffer that also made a post saying, don't miss next time. Are you kidding me? Now, I get it. I will always give everybody a mulligan. It could be that they really didn't grasp the situation and people are making jokes. I saw this one meme where it was like a Matrix movie, and here's Trump, like, being able to dodge all these bullets, being a badass. I get that many people are trying to take this away from the serious level to be able to talk about it and bring in some humor and all that. But if you are posting anything that's pro-murder, you're going to lose your flipping job. And if you're in medicine, get out of medicine. You can't take care of patients if you're pro-murder. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save the typical family $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. MediShare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. 855-SHARE-40. That's 855-SHARE-40. 855-SHARE-40.
Hey guys, it's Dr. Daliah. Fantasy football season is coming, but sadly, too many of you are taking the bench while the country takes part in one of the most exciting and lucrative industries out there. Don't know how to play? Well, huddle up and listen. Paul Kalikas and I have written a fantasy football pocket guide for beginners. This book walks you through the basics and shows you how simple and lucrative joining or creating a fantasy football team can be. Read our Fantasy Football Pocket Guide for Beginners found on Amazon or follow the links on X and Facebook. That's Fantasy Football Pocket Guides for Beginners. Don't be left out.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to TotalWellness.com. Supplements made for physicians only now available to you too. TotalWellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Dali, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So we lost a lot of public figures this weekend. Super Bowl champion Jacoby Jones died at the age of 40. And I don't have listed the cause of death, but he joined Shannon Doherty, who left us at the age of 53. Actress, most notable for her role in 90210, struggling with breast cancer, but keeping her fans abreast of all her her treatment and what she went through. Not easy. We also lost Richard Simmons, who died at the age of 76. Many people looking at Richard Simmons as the epitome of health questioned what could he have had. I think there was some discussion about skin cancer and other, so I don't know. But very shocking when somebody who was in such good shape leaves us at the age of 76. Dr. Ruth left us at the age of 96. 96 years old. Dr. Ruth, who would speak about sex and was it's interesting now because I grew up hearing, well, Dr. Ruth says this, Dr. Ruth said this, and it was and I was like, the pretty gutsy, for a woman with a doctorate to be and people said, well, Daliah, you could be the next Dr. Ruth. No, there's only one Dr. Ruth. That's that's Dr. Ruth, and leaves us at the age of 96. Following last week, Shelley Duvall and others, and so I see a lot of posts on social media. This has been a rough last few days, a very rough last few days, and you see pictures of Luke Perry and Shannon Doherty from 90210 saying they're up in heaven now together, reunited again. Robin Williams and Shelley Duvall, as Robin Williams had played Popeye and Shelley Duvall played Olive Oil. And these things aren't easy. For those of you kind of leaving the news and social media the next few days, I get it. It's not very positive. There's not a lot. I tried to post a couple things to lighten the mood. That wasn't easy. I've been feeling down. It's not easy. When childhood actors or actresses or public figures, we don't want to know that. We don't want to be reminded that our end could come. What happened with Trump and the assassination attempt, I could have gone so many different ways if he had just turned his head. Doctors like me, been asked about how close was it? Thank God it nipped the ear and that's it, and didn't go into the skull. I mean, I just, whoa. And when you see this, it's not easy. For individuals who are religious, my patients who are of faith, I don't care what type of faith, I notice they handle it a lot better. They have a vision of what the afterlife will be. They have this solace, this comfort, knowing that they'll be with God or they'll be with their relatives. I'm a little fearful of that, by the way. I don't really want to see some of my relatives. I'm actually asking God, if I do go, is there any way I could be anonymous, or can he put me in a different room or different city in heaven? Because I really don't want to deal with my relatives. I would like to see my dad or my grandma, but some relatives I will pass on. And so, whenever you start to kind of feel this uneasiness, and you're like, I all this talk of death, all these people dying, I can't handle it. I get it. It's not easy. It's a very normal reaction to not want to be reminded of that. Now, I have friends who have survived cancer. I have friends having birthdays, getting older. I'm eventually going to get older. It's not an easy topic. And how do we get through? How do we get by? Well, we suppress it. We don't think about it. We distract ourselves. I wanted to have some conversations with my husband. Just some conversations about it. And years ago, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. Okay. But we're going to have to talk about it eventually. Oh, and I think it is important to talk about. Religion offers you that way to do that. And nobody wants to die. Nobody wants to leave this earth because we don't know what it's going to be like. We've had people who have been resuscitated saying, look, I saw God. I saw Jesus. I saw a light. I saw my relatives. Now, I believe them. I told you what I believe. I believe the meaning of life is this is all a job interview or an internship. So God sees what we're doing, and then he decides where we need to be in the afterlife. It's a whole nother dimension. And this afterlife, we have a job to do. And he decides where he needs us. So when my uncle, who was only 13, who was brilliant, a genius, concert pianist, was able to skip a couple grades at school, he was so smart, was taken at the young age of 13 by leukemia, my explanation for that is God saw everything he needed to see on earth. And he needed my Uncle Stanley up in heaven. He had a job for him to do. Whereas this isn't our whole life. This is just this is a temporary place. Which, and some people don't have to believe that, but that's what I do. And it makes me a little less squirmy about what could happen. Still, it kills me when I see somebody die. It's horrible. It kills me to see an assassination attempt. It's horrific. I get scared. I get sad. But I think for me, my belief in God, and this isn't anything that was given to me in mass or at temple it's just something that I just came up with from my own experiences and from what patients told me. And so for those of you who do kind of struggle, if you do ascribe to a religion or a faith, that'll help. If you aren't sure, you're like, well, I grew up going to church a couple times, or I might have gone to temple, or talk to a pastor, talk to a rabbi, talk to a clergy member. Don't just pick one, because I've had some where I just didn't feel like they were the teachers or the vessels, that God wanted them to be, and it's okay. I've had some people go, I don't know if I really like this clergy member. It's okay. You don't have to. We respect them, but that doesn't mean it's a perfect fit for you. It's okay. But talk to a few of them. See if you do feel like you're getting what you need. Talk to a counselor. If religion isn't the way to go, talk to a counselor. Counselors help us deal with grief, help us deal with the unknown. But seeing a lot of movie stars and all that, it's not. And I think also what depresses us is we see how people move on. I like to think that if, God forbid, I left this earth, there would be years of mourning. I don't want that. But you think that the whole world would completely crumble because I wasn't on the planet. No, it's not going to happen. People are going to be at lunch at a diner, and somebody goes, so-and-so is gone. Really? Oh, man. Oh, that's horrible. Can you pass the salt? And life's going to go on. I want life to go on for everybody. But that bothers people to think that their whole being doesn't count. Never counted. Well, it does. And if you don't think that your being, you mattered, then matter. Help people. Do acts of kindness. Make videos for your future family members so your great-grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren have. It's amazing what we have with tech, where now possibly my great-great-great-great-grandson will be able to listen to my show. He might not want to, but still, pretty flippin' cool. I would love to hear the voice of my great-grandparents, but, well. So, matter. Write a book. Doesn't cost a lot of money. Doesn't cost anything. Publish it on Amazon. Put yourself out there. If there's something that if there's advice you want to give, Put it out there. Put it on social media. Put it on. If you want to write a song, if you want to help a political candidate get, elected, it does matter. The reason why the world exists today is because of what we did yesterday and what our parents did and our grandparents did. And sometimes you'll be able to feel better about what life is going to bring or the end of life is going to bring, knowing that you accomplished some really cool things while you were here. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH.
Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Hot Shot Secret Stiction Eliminator.
Stiction, that sticky friction, undermines the performance of diesel engines. Third-party ASTM testing verifies that Stiction Eliminator removes 2 times as much stiction than any alternative on the retail shelf. Stiction Eliminator is formulated to be left in the engine oil. It works as you drive.
Available at truck stops, Tractor Supply, O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret. Powered by science.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So I don't want to see any medical group or medical society make blanket comments and policy on gender-affirming care without first reviewing data and evidence and testimony from detransitioners. Once you get the full story, then you could make an adequate recommendation. But the one thing I am noticing, which is a trend, is many of these medical groups that say we have to do this for the children, we have to, allow them to have gender-affirming care, questionable if parents need to be involved, etc. They seem to be working on the premise of fertility doesn't matter. Breastfeeding doesn't matter. They're not going to change their mind. And so you always have to be in medicine understanding that somebody could change their mind, and somebody who is transgender, just like a cisgender person, may still want to have babies, may still want to breastfeed them, may face a formula shortage and want to be able to feed their young. Well, the problem we're having is many detransitioners feel they can't talk about it. They can't talk about what they liked or disliked. And they feel that the community would not accept them, which kind of confuses me because the LGBTQ AI plus community is known for being accepting. That's why they are. So you could be on the spectrum, but maybe not necessarily like some of the things you've done. So the LGBTQ AI plus community is supposed to be accepting. However, many people feel they aren't, that they can't bring it up. Well, one detransitioner discontent was able to get out and speak about it. The New York Post is reporting how Prisha Mosley, 26-year-old, gave birth to a healthy baby boy via C-section. But she had detransitioned when she transitioned to being a man. She detransitioned 2 years ago. In her fruitless attempt to change genders, New York Post is saying, She pumped her body full of testosterone. At age 18, she had her healthy breasts removed, was left with a, quote, mangled and scarred chest. Her hormones were wildly out of whack. When she detransitioned, she saw a doctor because she missed her period. She laughed when he asked if she could be carrying a child and pregnant. She was in a relationship with her boyfriend, but she assumed she was infertile. And she was able, because of the detransitioning, to get pregnant. But she said that it was agony going through the pregnancy and had a myriad of complications and medical unknowns, was afraid if the baby was going to come out healthy. As we know, sex hormones could affect fertility. And she was using testosterone, where testosterone could cause issues with the developing fetus. And it still had possibly high levels of that when she was detransitioning. Now, fortunately, she kept her uterus and ovaries, so she was able to, after detransitioning, still be able to have a baby. And she said her body was ravaged. She said her liver is big, her insulin is high, her uterus, bladder, and vagina atrophied. Her hormone imbalance caused the baby to be big, and her hips were too small to deliver vaginally, so she had to have a C-section. She said, my muscles were used to carry a baby in ways that my hips couldn't accommodate. I am in so much pain. And she says there is no standard of care for detransitioners. And I'm seeing that a lot. There's a lot of support to, let's say, get the abortion. A lot of places will offer the abortion, but where is the care if you start to have the regret? And I had patients come to me going, where do I go? I'm not handling this well. And I go to the abortion doctor. They go, no. They were only interested in the abortion. Same thing with the transitioning. Many people feel like, okay, they got what they wanted. They got the transitioning done, but now I want to go back. Well, there should be that same support. We have you. We've got you covered. Now, the story was, she said her previous doctors and therapists treated her for gender dysphoria, were so sure in removing her breasts and pumping her with testosterone, it was promise. She said, I fully believed it because I needed to. I didn't transition because I was having a good time. There was no neuroscience to change my brain, so I had to edit my body. She said the gender confusion started at a young age when she discovered gender ideology online. She was suffering from severe anorexia, anxiety, borderline personality disorder, and she had been sexually assaulted at age 15. It resulted in pregnancy and a miscarriage. She said her eating disorder stymied her emotional maturation, physical growth, especially in her hip area. So she transitioned to male. At 17, started testosterone injections, and then a year later had a double mastectomy. Motherhood was the last thing on her mind. But then she said, living in the trans community, she realized that the gender was not her issue. She detransitioned and now is suing 8 of her medical practitioners, alleging they misled her into pursuing medical procedures and interventions that have turned her into a patient for life. And she is still haunted by removing her breasts. She has painful rocks that have formed under her chest, or what her doctor said are milk masses stuck under scar tissue with no outlet because her nipples were reattached and are merely decorative. So the baby doesn't have a nice soft bosom. She says her chest is hard. Makes her feel like a monster. Now she relies on donor breast milk, which she says has been integral to her son's development. And that he spent the first few days of his life searching for things on her chest that didn't exist. And then he threw up. The only thing that helped was donor breast milk. So, God bless these individuals who are helping shape medicine. Whether you loved your transition or you didn't love your transition, please reach out to me even. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Because when we do plastic surgery, when we do colonoscopies, we need patient patient reports and how they felt, so we know what to do. And when I hear that kids are losing their breasts for gender affirming care, they may want to breastfeed later. When you hear of people transition, these hormones do cause, everybody says, oh, the puberty blockers can be reversed. In theory, if all you're doing is a puberty blocker, you will, once you stop the blocker, allow puberty to happen. But it's not the same as if you were never on the puberty blockers. Your bone density is different. Your development, your emotions are different. It's different. And then once you go through gender affirming care, there could be a permanence to it. And I think the biggest mistake doctors can make is thinking that the patient they have today may not want to be fertile tomorrow or breastfeed or that same gender. And we need detransitioners to say, look, this is what I went through, and this is what I would not recommend. Even people who transitioned, did they really like every piece of their therapy? Most of us will say, even with cosmetic surgery, well, I liked this, but this was rough. I didn't like this. Let them speak about it. 1-877 Dr. Daliah.
Considered by most, optimized curcumin is one of the few bioavailable and highly absorbable curcumin products on the market. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch. Since most chronic diseases have inflammation, our optimized curcumin seems to be a perfect addition to any nutritional program. It makes sense to me that preventing or reducing inflammation is a key component to our overall health. The Mayo Clinic found that curcumin can decrease swelling and inflammation, has antioxidant properties, and research suggests that curcumin can prevent cancer, or at least slow the spread of cancer, and in many instances make chemotherapy more effective. It protects our healthy cells even from radiation. TotalWellness.com, where we help you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Self-reliance. It's not a phrase we hear much in our culture these days. It might conjure up images of pioneers, the West, rifles, strapping men, and strong women. But what does it mean for us in today's world? The New American Magazine has just released its latest collector's edition, Self-Reliance, Foundation of Freedom. In it, the New American authors outline the necessity of self-reliance for a free people, tips for self-reliant living, and the importance of not giving up hope. This unique edition includes articles on the self-sufficiency of the founders, preparing for a worst-case scenario, firearms, financial self-reliance, the importance of community, and many other topics by expert writers. Now, for a limited time, the New American is offering a bundle of 3 collector's editions, Self-Reliance, The Great Reset, and Trump World, for just $19.95. Available at shopjbs.org. Visit shopjbs.org today.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Dr. Daliah and on Facebook, the Dr. Daliah Show. So I guess we are going to hear today former President Trump's choice for vice president. I'm sorry there's not a lot of health news today. Obviously, this is what's dominating the headlines, as it should. This is, as much as I'd like to talk about, green tea and things like that, there's if there are any significant health headlines before the end of the show, I'm definitely going to reach out to you. But right now, all eyes are on the RNC. The rumors have it that President Trump has narrowed his list of VP candidates to Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, Florida Senator Marco Rubio. I thought Tim Scott would be on the short list, but not sure why. Still could be. Some people have suggested Ben Carson would also be good. There's other contenders as well. Then there was some rumors that there were black SUVs in front of J.D. Vance's house, providing Secret Service protection. And J.D. Vance is 39 years old, millennial, and but again, not very experienced. A lot of these younger guys wouldn't be. I mean, Biden was in the Senate for 37 years, or he was in politics for almost 4 decades. But we see also what age can sometimes do, although I really don't blame age. I blame his health and cognitive issues. As some individuals, I mean, look, Dr. Ruth lived well into 96. But, a lot of people say, what do you think of Marco Rubio? I've met Marco Rubio, very smart guy. He's young, son of Cuban immigrants. I'm just a little shocked because like Burgum with North Dakota and Rubio with Florida, you would think Trump would pick somebody whose home state was a battleground state. I understand J.D. Vance is Ohio, and that's why people think it's going to be J.D. Vance. But also you want somebody that could kind of help, provide the diversity of voters and help allow there to be, more connection with, Doug Burgum, great guy, great, but the state is already going to Trump. And so, who else in terms of donors and in terms of connections? And so, some of these other candidates, could maybe bring a little bit more to the table. But hopefully we'll find out soon, and the guest will be over. In fact, probably by the time some of you listen to this airing of my show, for those of you that don't listen live, we'll already have a vice presidential candidate. And the VP pick is very important in light of what happened to Trump this weekend, in light of Trump's age. If Trump's policies do remain popular, then whoever runs in 2028, who will probably be running against Gavin Newsom, needs to be somebody who could give Newsom a run for their money. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Also interesting in today's news, Trump's classified documents case has been dismissed by Judge Eileen Cannon. Now, this classified documents issue had confused me because during COVID, I think everybody and their mother in Congress took work home. And so, Biden's classified documents were there, possibly brought home during the Obama presidency. But when you had then other people say, oh, I have some documents. And then I think everybody in the House and the Senate were told, can you please look at your house and see what you have at home, and bring it back. My big question is, isn't the libraries of Congress and isn't the National Archives and whoever's in charge of all these sensitive documents, don't they, where's the librarian? I couldn't be overdue with a book by 1 hour without the librarian being all up into my retroperitoneum. So I'm not exactly sure how that process works. And I also don't understand why there was so many hard copies. Most of, things done these days is on computer. So not sure why there were boxes of hard copies. And then there was, but that's not why. Apparently a 96-page ruling by U.S. District Judge Eileen Cannon said that special counsel Jack Smith was improperly appointed. And being that he was improperly appointed to manage the case, now the case has been dismissed. Huge win for Trump. Now, Justice Department is highly likely to appeal the decision. And it may eventually reach the Supreme Court, but not before the election. And if Trump wins, Trump can obviously pardon himself. I'm also very confused because classified documents, if that really did happen, then both Trump and Biden would not be eligible to have their classified status and have their qualifications in terms of classified. You know, to lose your ability to have then neither of them would be able to be president. Biden would lose his position right away because he wouldn't have clearance. Yeah. I mean, I worked for the government. I had a very low grade, probably level, but it was made very clear you violate anything, you lose your clearance, you lose your job. So I'm a little confused as to, what if you do bring something home with you that's a violation and you lose your clearance. So I'm still kind of confused as to who's the one that loses clearance and who doesn't. Kind of confusing, but still a huge win. If Cannon's ruling is eventually overturned, according to MSN, that the decision to dismiss Trump's indictment adds to a string of legal victories for him, including president's immunity for official acts while in office. And Attorney General Merrick Garland has not commented on the ruling. Some people said, did she do this in light of the shooting? Here's the thing. If you're smart, you have a reputation and an integrity that you have to uphold to your office. And if something was done inappropriately, just like, I guess, the Rust shooting case with Alec Baldwin, that case got thrown out because prosecution did not properly manage the evidence well. You know, in medicine, it's like people don't understand how that happens. But in medicine and in science, we see it all the time. If somebody at all disrupts the integrity of a scientific study, it doesn't count. It gets thrown out. You can't. It's like a contaminated petri dish. You can't pick out or scoop out what's contaminated. And then, it's like brushing off sprinkles of an ice cream cone you drop in the grass. You can't do it's contaminated. And so if your petri dish becomes contaminated, that whole dish has to get thrown out. And then you start over with a new dish. If your study becomes contaminated, or there was somebody working on it who falsified something or had secondary gain and didn't do what they were supposed to do, the study gets thrown out. It has to be redone. And so that's what happens with law. And, kudos then to her for doing the proper thing. If, Special Counsel Jack Smith was never even supposed to be on the case. And that's also why with the Georgia election overturning scandal with Fani Willis and the relationship with the DA, these are things that can contaminate a process. And so if we in medicine and we in science have to uphold those standards, so should people in law and politics. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, don't go away.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.